Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Let's talk about growing the metaverse. Last week, Meta announced the further expansion of its Horizon Worlds platform in Europe. It concepts Web 2 and 3 fast become a hub for the next generation of crypto-based entertainment. For more on this, let's bring in Brian Trunzo. He's Polygon Studios' lead metaverse officer. We've also got Yahoo Finance's David Hollerith joining us. Great to have you on today. Obviously, when we talk about the metaverse, so many people talk about Meta/Facebook, but talk to me about this transition that you're seeing right now and where you think the growth really is.
Yes, of course, it's hard to ignore Meta in this space, particularly back in October when they had made the announcement that they were becoming a social metaverse company and creating that sizzle that has created a wave off which people are riding right now. I think one of the most interesting areas in the space is how decentralized technologies, that's to say blockchain, enable actual ownership of digital items within virtual worlds. So this idea of actually owning your assets and having complete control over them, I think that is one of the great unlocks to Web3 and to the metaverse.
Brian, there's a report that came out from Block Data, a company that sort of showed that a lot of the investments from public companies investing into the crypto sector, from the likes of, the largest tech companies such as Microsoft and Alphabet, things like that. Samsung is another one that goes heavily into the metaverse. And I was sort of curious, how you're thinking about that level of investment into sort of the crypto ecosystem, sort of given that, a lot of the narrative about the metaverse is about sort of, disrupting these Web 2 companies.
There's an understanding that this is a generational opportunity to usher in a new internet, to speak pretty clearly on that point. Citi has released information that they expect the metaversal economy to be somewhere between $8 and $13 trillion by 2030. And to think of who sits at the C-suite and at the senior vice president levels and at the consulting levels of some of the major Fortune 100 and 500 companies around the world, these are folks who watched, and many of them actually had a hand in, watched the blossoming of Web 2 and the disruption of Web 1. So I think that legacy players and Web 2 companies are taking stock of the disruption and trying to figure out how they can dovetail and converge with the technology and utilize it to create better experiences for their incredible user base than fight it or try to stave it off.
I know it's pretty difficult to sort of gauge, what the metaverse is and isn't at this point. I know for Polygon, it's a lot of it has to do with GameFi, or sort of this blockchain games area. And it's interesting. There have been reports that have come out, during the crypto downturn that GameFi has sort of held up better in terms of at least user activity. And I was sort of curious what you thought about that and why you thought maybe that would be the case.
Some of the early GameFi players were walking so that future players or themselves, as they blossom, can fly. This idea that the games are getting better, they're more fun, they are investing in customer acquisition strategies and just continuing to improve. They're showcasing the actual utility of NFTs and cryptocurrencies in execution environments, that's to say games. And I think most people are fairly aware that there's a sizable pot of gold at the end of the rainbow represented by NFTs within games. Obviously, this has been a divisive point, but I think most people would agree that there is a large opportunity there. So as the games get better, as the games become more fun, and as people utilize the technology in new and novel ways, it would make sense, at least to me, that GameFi and Web3 gaming would hold within what one would call a bear market.
Polygon Studios' lead metaverse officer, Brian Trunzo, appreciate you joining us today, and our thanks to David Hollerith as well.